The Forsaken Heir. Episode 87. Zhao Hao hurriedly said, "Master, everything is fine with me lately. Thanks to you and President Tele for taking care of me." When Charlie heard this, he couldn't help getting serious, and said seriously, "Brother, everyone present can call me master, but you can't." Zhao Hao said awkwardly, "Master, hey, including Mr. Tele, so many people respect you so much, how can I make an exception?" Charlie walked up to him, patted him on the shoulder, and said very solemnly, "Brother, they call me master because I have helped them more or less, but you are different." Zhao Hao hurriedly said, I am also today thanks to your help. The help you brought to me is earth-shaking, and I have to respect you more than others." Charlie said with a somewhat displeased expression, "Don't be fooling around with me. The two of us grew up in the orphanage together. Although we were not born by the same mother, in those years in the orphanage, between the two of us there was no difference between us. After so many years, you and I supported each other, depended on each other, and shared weal and woe. I helped you. It is the brothers who pulled each other out. Why are you polite with me?" When Zhao Hao heard these words, he felt ashamed in his heart as he was grateful. He thought to himself, "I was always afraid that I would not be able to climb Charlie, so I became more and more sincere and frightened in front of him, but the more so, the more alienated I am him, but Charlie has always regarded me as a brother. If I treat him with respect as a servant, he must be very uncomfortable." Thinking of this, Zhao Hao observed at it and said, "Charlie, brother got it, brother, thank you." Charlie smiled slightly and nodded, "This is the brother of Charlie. If you call me master next time, I will break the friendship directly." Zhao Hao hurriedly said, "Charlie, don't worry, I will never call you master again. Charlie is not a master in front of me, you are Zhao Hao's brother, brother for life." Charlie nodded lightly, and said with satisfaction, "I am so happy to have you." At this time, Jacob and Claire also walked out. The two felt that if Charlie's customers came to visit at home, of course they had to do a good job of hospitality, so they quickly cleaned up the living room at home and came out to invite the guests in to sit for a while. But after they came out, the two people discovered that there were obviously more people outside than they expected. What is even more frightening is that these people are almost all of Oris Hill's most prestigious group. Especially when she saw Warnya, Claire suddenly felt a little inferior. She knew Warnya was also outside, so she had to put on makeup before coming out. Usually, Claire goes out without makeup, seldom puts on makeup, and is not so elegant in dress, and today is no exception. So, in front of Warnya who was dressed up, she suddenly seemed a little bleak. Jacob knew that his son-in-law was very capable now, and that his clients were all big shots, so seeing so many big shots made him feel nothing. However, when he saw Tiankai, Jacob hurriedly greeted him and said respectfully, "Oh, genius Dr. Tiankai, you are here too. You are a lifesaver, I should go down to pay you a New Year greeting." Tiankai couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed, because he knew very well that the high paraplegia caused by car accident was cured by Charlie with magical medicine, and he had nothing to do with him. Therefore, Jacob respected him so much that he couldn't help being embarrassed, and hurriedly said, "Mr. Wilson, you are too polite. Master has the kindness of remaking me she, so I came to visit him this time. At this time, Orville stepped up and hugged Jacob. He bowed slightly and said respectfully, "Hello, Mr. Wilson. Orville is here. I wish you a Happy New Year in advance." Jacob had several contacts with Orville in Classic Mansion, and he had already been very familiar with him, so he smiled and said, "You are too polite, Mr. Orville, and I wish you a Happy New Year." Orville was very flattered and said, "If you can't do it, you can call me Orville, Mr. Wilson." Jacob was very proud of his heart, and secretly said, "Oh, old Wilson has such a great face now. Even the underground emperor of Oris Hill, Mr. Orville, is respectful in front of me, is it worth it? Moreover, if so many big people come to pay New Year's greetings today, if it spreads out, don't know how many people will have their jaw dropped." In order not to neglect the guests, Charlie invited everyone into the villa. Everyone also hurriedly asked the accompanying people to take out the prepared gifts from the car, and then saw at least 20 or 30 people, holding various high-end gift boxes, lined up into the villa. Not far away, Mrs. Wilson from Villa A04, her eyes straightened, and her mouth muttered, "This battle, which is an ordinary gift. This is simply the posture of officials from all over the ancient times lining up to pay tribute to the emperor." Horia felt so uncomfortable, she said, "This group of people are both rich and powerful. The gifts they give cannot add up to less than 100 million? Wendy muttered with red eyes, "I'm afraid I can't stop at 100 million. Solomon just gave away a villa and it cost more than 1 billion. Hey!" Mrs. Wilson said with an extremely painful expression, "I can't do it anymore, I can't see it anymore, and I'll have a heart attack if I look at it." After speaking, she turned and entered the room. Horia said angrily, "I look at it, hey!" Wendy didn't say a word. Seeing Gerald following Solomon into Charlie's villa, she felt even more uncomfortable. Harold was lying on the bed and wailing, "Mom, Grandma, if you don't get something to eat, I will starve to death, you can't look at me. The wounded are lying in bed hungry. Regnar's men beat me and Dad to death. It seems that we are going to starve to death at home." Mrs. Wilson hurriedly said, "Wendy, didn't you say that you are going out to find a job today? Go out and have a look." After finishing speaking, she looked at Horia again, blurted out, "Horia, you have to find a job to support your family." Horia nodded, and said with a bit of anger, "I can go, but this house can't support idlers. You have to go if I go." "Me?" Mrs. Wilson's speech was not smooth anymore, and she said angrily, I'm so old, you let me go out to find a job." Horia asked her back, "Why? What's so great about being older? You don't need to eat when you are older? If you make it clear that you don't need to eat, then you don't need to go out to work. Go to the north bedroom to open the window and open your mouth. Wait to drink northwest wind. You." Mrs. Wilson was furious, "I'm so old and don't let me eat. You are trying to force me to death." Horia said with a cold face, "The situation at home is so miserable now, anyone must find a way to make money to support the family. Noah and Harold are now injured. They can be temporarily exempted, but you can't." Mrs. Wilson angrily said, "It turned you back. It turned you back. I am so old, and you have to force me to work. You are killing me. Why did our Wilson family make you daughter-in-law? A wolf-hearted daughter-in-law. If God has eyes, and a sky thunder should drop you to death. Horia sneered and said, don't be haggling with me. I won't force you if you don't go out to work, but I won't be able to support you if I make money. You can do it yourself. Mrs. Wilson didn't dare to pretend to be forced at this time, and said embarrassedly, we can't all go to work for the three of us, we have to leave one person to take care of Noah and Harold. Horia said, it's even more inappropriate for you to take care of them. They are now paralyzed in bed. You don't even have the strength to turn them over. What's the use of staying? With that said, Horia looked at Wendy and said, Wendy, you stay and take care of your dad and your brother, and I will go out with your grandmother to find a job. Wendy nodded gently, okay. At this time, Charlie was at home. Elaine, with her right leg in a cast, was stunned by the sight in front of her. The big men came to the house and didn't say anything, but all kinds of gifts just piled up as a hill in the living room. Her excited mouth was almost grinning behind her ears, and she couldn't wait to rush to take apart these gifts one by one, but with so many big people here, she was really embarrassed. As Charlie's most heartfelt subordinate and the initiator of this collective visit, Orville took out a piece of paper from his pocket and said loudly, Master, I have a gift list here. It's over here, let me read it to you. Before Charlie spoke, Elaine over there hurriedly said excitedly, oh, read it. Read it loudly. Orville said hurriedly, Ms. Elaine, don't worry, I must say it louder. With that said, he cleared his throat and said loudly, Shangri-La's Isaac Craven, giving Master a set of Banshan Hot Spring Resort Villa, located in the Champs-Élysées Hot Spring Hotel, worth 80 million. This sentence made Elaine stunned. Elaine couldn't help but exclaimed with excitement in the depths of her heart, Mom! One shot is a set of 80 million Hot Spring Villa, this is too bright. I really want to go to the Champs tonight. Experience the beautiful hot spring villa. However, immediately afterwards, she looked at her right leg, and muttered in her heart, I still have a cast on my leg, so I'm afraid I won't be able to soak in the hot spring for a while. But it doesn't matter, anyway, Champs-Élysées Hot Springs. I won't run, and it's never too late to go when my legs are better. Champs-Élysées Hotel is an industry owned by Shangri-La. Elsa also specially invited Charlie and Claire to go there. It is the best hot spring hotel in Oris Hill and even the province. The Champs-Élysées covers a large area. The entire foot of the mountain up to the mountainside in their industry. In addition to the hot spring hotel, there are several hot spring villas that are not for sale. These hot spring villas are all built in the middle of the mountain. The villas have excellent scenery, exquisite architecture, and luxurious decoration. More importantly, these villas have natural hot springs, and there are hot springs throughout the year. The only fly in the ointment is the remote location. After all, the natural hot springs are closely related to the geography and topography. The entire Champs-Élysées Hot Spring Hotel is built in the mountains, too far from the city, and the commuting time is too long, so it is suitable for vacations, but not for long-term living. Claire and Jacob were also frightened by such a valuable gift, and they were all startled and speechless. Isaac said at this time, Master, the hot spring villa sent to you has always been a non-sale item of the Champs-Élysées Hot Spring Hotel, and never entertains guests. The hot springs there are rich in minerals and are good for people. It has a health care function. In the future, you can often go on vacation with your wife, uncle, and aunt to relax. If you don't usually go, our professional housekeeper will take care of the villa and daily cleaning and maintenance. It is absolutely spotless. After all, Isaac said again, the keys to the villa, the real estate certificate, and other related documents are all in the gift box. Please, I asked Master to accept it. Charlie nodded and smiled slightly. Mr. Isaac always has a heart. Charlie really didn't think the tens of millions of hot spring villas were too valuable, especially Isaac's own assets, which was nothing to him. Claire was a little nervous and said in Charlie's ear, "Husband, how can we accept such an expensive gift?" Charlie waved his hand and faintly said, "My wife, don't worry about this. I accept their gift, and naturally I will repay them in other ways." Orville looked at Charlie at this time and asked respectfully, "Master, then I continue to read?" Charlie nodded, "Go on." With Charlie's approval, Orville continued to speak loudly, "Mr. Song gives Master a luxury yacht made in Italy and San Lorenzo." Yacht. Elaine was the first to blurt out, "What kind of yacht? What kind of ship?" Mr. Song said with a smile, "Ms. Elaine has misunderstood. San Lorenzo is a veteran European luxury yacht manufacturer. This yacht is more than 20 meters long and has 3 decks. It is very suitable for a family trip." Elaine was stunned and said, "You can get a lot of money for such a yacht, right?" Honor on the side said, "Taking taxes into account, it's about 70 million. How much more?" Elaine was stunned. "A ship is 70 million. This is too scary." Claire couldn't help saying, "Mr. Song, your gift is too expensive, we really can't." Charlie smiled slightly at this moment, made a gesture, interrupted Claire's words, and smiled slightly, "My wife, this is the heart of Mr. Song, so don't shirk it." After that, he looked at Old Song and slightly arched his hands and said, "Mr. Song, I thank you." Mr. Song hurriedly said, "Oh, Master, I dare not be it. I worry if you like it or not." Afterwards, he said to Charlie, "The keys to the yacht and related documents are in the gift box, but the yacht is now parked at the pier of the Oris Hill Yacht Association. I have bought an exclusive berth for you. If you want to sail the yacht in the future, if you travel, or even go to sea along the Yangtze River, you can directly contact the staff of the Yacht Association." Charlie nodded lightly and smiled, "I guess it won't be used for a while. I don't have a yacht driver's license, so let's talk about it when I have time to take the test." Mr. Song hurriedly said, "Master, if you need to use a yacht, you can let Warnya or Honor help you sail. Both of them have a yacht driver's license." Warnya said shyly, "Yeah, Master, if you have a need for a yacht, just tell me directly." After that, she remembered something, and then said, "Oh, right, after the Chinese New Year, if you want to use a yacht, you can contact brother. I will go to Japan after the Chinese New Year. It may take a while for me to come back." "Oh?" Charlie asked curiously, "Ms. Song is going to Japan for a trip or?" Warnya said hurriedly, "I'm going to talk about business." The Song family is now preparing to get involved in the steel manufacturing industry and want to discuss some cooperation with Japan's Nippon Steel. Nippon Steel? Charlie frowned and asked her, "Is this company strong?" Warnya nodded and said, "Nippon Steel is one of the world's top steel companies and one of the world's largest steel companies." Charlie asked curiously, "Who is the boss behind this steel company?" Warnya said, "The big boss behind Nippon Steel is Sumitomo Group." Sumitomo Group? Charlie smiled slightly, "I haven't heard of it." Warnya laughed and said, "Sumitomo Group has a wide range of business, but most of them are in the industrial field, especially the heavy industry, which is really not closely related to daily life." Charlie nodded lightly and said, "If you need help in Japan, you can contact me. I have a few acquaintances there." Charlie did not say directly that he knew Takehiko and Nanako of the Ito family. He doesn't want to let people know what he did in Japan some time ago, so he still tries to keep a low profile. Warnya didn't think much, and said with a smile, "Okay, Master, if you need it, I will contact you." At this time, Orville continued to read the gift list. "Mr. Tiankai will give Master a pair of blue and white dragon-shaped elephant ear bottles." Hearing this, Jacob stood up suddenly and tremblingly asked, "What? Dragon-like elephant ear bottle?" Orville nodded, "Yes, Mr. Wilson, it is indeed a pair of blue and white dragon-shaped elephant ear bottles." "Oh my God!" Jacob has always been fond of antique writing and playing. Although he is always fooled when buying things, he still knows the antique industry very well. Blue and white porcelain can be said to be one of the most expensive porcelain. Any blue and white plate in the dynasty can sell for millions. If it is a large piece of blue and white, such as the well-known Gigutsi Zaishan blue and white can, the auction price more than 10 years ago had exceeded 100 million, and now if it is brought out again, it will be at least 500 million. Jacob once heard of a blue and white dragon-shaped elephant ear bottle in Dynasty. Many appreciation manuals published by Christie's and Sotheby's record similar blue and white porcelain. It is conservatively estimated that it must be at a price of 30 to 50 million. At this time, Zhovia took the initiative to open an exquisite mahogany gift box. The inner lining of the box was made of golden silk and satin. And 2 beautiful blue and white porcelain vases are lying in the lining made of silk and satin. Jacob's eyes are almost gone. This is an antique unmatched. The ultimate collection for antique lovers. There is an antique priceless. At this time, Jacob couldn't wait to step forward to pick up one of the bottles and play with it carefully. However, he felt a little hairy when he thought of throwing a Wang Dynasty jade pot spring bottle. "You know, the price of this antique bottle is several times that of the Yahuchun bottle." Charlie saw that the old master liked the bottle very much, so he smiled and said to Tiankai, "Mr. Shi, thank you for your gift. My father-in-law loves antiques the most in his life. I let him appreciate it up close." Tiankai hurriedly said, "Master, please." Charlie walked up to Zhovia, took out one of the elephant ear bottles, and then handed it to Jacob. He smiled and said, "Dad, don't you like antiques? I will borrow flowers to present these bottles to you and give them to you." When Jacob heard this, his whole body trembled with excitement, and his heart had already reached the utmost excitement, but he was flattered on the face and said, "How can I accept it, this is too expensive." Elaine was also a little jealous. Although she doesn't know how much the blue and white elephant ear bottles are worth, she knows that the blue and white elephant ear bottles are not cheap, and it is estimated that this pair of bottles is worth tens of millions. So, she thought sourly in her heart, Charlie gave me hundreds of thousands of cosmetics and hundreds of thousands of bags, and Jacob, an old thing, turned out to be worth tens of millions of blue and white. Why is this old thing so privileged? When she was jealous, Charlie smiled at Jacob and said, "This is the intention of the genius doctor. As long as you keep it well and treat it as a collection in your home, don't sell it." Jacob immediately patted his chest and said, "Good son-in-law, don't worry, even if I sell myself, I will never sell this pair of bottles." After that, he carefully took the blue and white elephant ear bottle from Charlie's hands with both hands, and looked at the perfect hair color and enamel on it. Tears filled his eyes with excitement. Elaine also breathed a sigh of relief at this time, thinking, "I'm an old thing like Jacob, he can really get such a pair of treasures from Charlie. It turns out that he can only store it but not sell it. That's meaningless." Elaine has two sets of standards for measuring the value of items. The first is how much money can be exchanged for this thing. The second is how much face this thing can change. In her eyes, everything in the world, all-encompassing, is ultimately money and face. For example, Charlie gave her a set of top-notch caviar skincare products at a purchase price of nearly $400,000, and it can sell at least $300,000 for takeaway, so she can clearly feel the weight of the $300,000. This is in line with her first set of standards, and it is valuable. For another example, Elaine can not only sell $100,000 for takeaways, but also enjoy the envy and hatred of others, and let her feel the weight of more than $100,000. But also feel very special. This is in line with her second set of standards, face. At this time, she looked at the set of antiques and thought with a lack of interest, if an item can't be exchanged for money, and can't be brought to the house to impress others, how valuable is it? This blue and white elephant ear bottle do seem to be very valuable, but it can't be sold out, and can't be taken out to show off, so in the eyes of the old lady, it is a worthless waste. Unless the old lady steals it and sells it another day, sell it for thousands. However, Elaine changed her mind and thought again, no. Charlie gave this thing to Jacob. If I sell it secretly, it doesn't matter if Jacob is angry. If Charlie is angry, it will be difficult to handle. Thinking of this, Elaine could only give up the idea of playing this pair of blue and white dragon-shaped elephant ear bottles. At this time, Orville continued to read the gift list. Qin Gang gave an emerald worth 50 million, and Solman gave a pink diamond of about the same value. The two are relatively familiar and have a good relationship. At the last auto show, the two men gave Charlie a sports car each, so this time they discussed in advance and gave valuable jewelry together. Although they are all jewels with similar value, they are of different varieties, so they are not afraid of crashing. At this time, Aoxu and Fred each held a gift box and displayed the gems in it. 2 gems, one green, and one pink, reflect colorful colors under the light, and the appearance is really perfect. Elaine was so interested in these 2 gems that even her eyes fell out. She couldn't help thinking of the jade bracelet that Qin Gang had given to Charlie before. The bracelet was worth at least several million. Charlie gave it to Claire, and was later stolen by Elaine to wear it. When wearing it, she took it as her own, but it was set up by Yacht. It was accidentally broken. This has always been a pain in Elaine's heart that she does not want to recall. Moreover, since then, Elaine hasn't had much jewelry. Now that she saw these two crystal and perfect gems, she suddenly moved her mind again, wishing that she could use both gems to make a necklace and put it on her neck and go out to impress people around in the market. However, she dare not think about such a thing. If Charlie didn't tell her, she would never dare to steal it. After the gems were displayed, Orville continued to read, Mr. Tele presents Master a EC-145 helicopter produced by Eurocopter. As soon as these words came out, the audience was deeply shocked. Just now, Mr. Song had delivered the yacht, and Tele gave a helicopter. Claire was also shocked to hear this. Now that he received the gift, she was already a little scared. Fear, because these gifts are too expensive. It is so precious that even those high-class people would never give such a precious gift. So far, the prices of all the gifts mentioned are in the tens of millions, or even higher. Take anyone out, they are all valuable treasures. As a result, these people have all used them to give to Charlie. Claire felt very magical. Tele said at this time, Master, I heard that you don't often leave Oris Hill. Hiken is not too far away from Oris Hill. It may take 4 or 5 hours to drive, but if you take a helicopter, you can visit in a short time, so I gave you a helicopter. If you have any short and medium distance commuting needs, you can take the helicopter directly, which is much faster than a car. Charlie nodded slightly. Tele always has a heart. In fact, for Charlie now, whether it is a hot spring villa, a private yacht, or a private helicopter, these are actually not attractive to him. When he was very young, the Wade family owned almost all kinds of civilian transportation. Millions and tens of millions of luxury cars are not worth mentioning. Wade family has several private jets worth hundreds of millions or even billions. Villas and manors worth more than 100 million cannot be counted anywhere in the world. Not to mention luxury yachts. In fact, when Charlie's father was young, he bought a luxury cruise ship. It was a luxury cruise ship that could carry hundreds of people and could carry helicopters to travel around the world. Back then, Chen Jing bought a luxury cruise ship entirely to make his wife happy. Although Charlie's mother is also a descendant of elite family, she is a foreign Chinese. The whole family is on the other side of the ocean. She grew up in the West and advocated outdoor travel. In order to meet the needs of his wife to visit family and travel, Chen Jing bought the luxury cruise ship with huge sums of money and promised that he would spend 2 months each year to accompany her on the cruise ship to visit relatives on the other side of the ocean and cross half of the earth along the way. They could also travel together. From the age of 3, Charlie followed his parents back to his grandmother's house every year on a luxury cruise until his parents had an accident at the age of 8. Others expect to be able to travel around the world before death, and Charlie has traveled around once a year since he was 3 years old. In those few years, he lived a luxurious life that many people could not enjoy in his entire life, so that he personally had no pursuit of material things. Everyone saw that so many gifts were given. Charlie's expression was still very calm, and everyone couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed. They knew that none of these gifts seemed to be given to Charlie's heart. Later, Liang gave Charlie a jade-carved Guanyun Chang. In his words, Guanyun Chang is the god of wealth, who can protect Charlie's safety and wealth. Charlie smiled and thanked him for it. Finally, from Orville himself, he took out a beautifully packaged gift box, handed it to Charlie, and said seriously, "Master, there is a little effort here." Charlie said with a smile, "Mr. Orville, you read so many gifts from so many people, why don't you tell me what your own gift is?" Orville said embarrassingly, I am afraid that Master will be dissatisfied with the things in here." Charlie shook his head, "No matter what you give, I am very grateful, how can I be dissatisfied?" Orville nodded and said earnestly, "Master, here is a villa near the Imperial Palace in Tokyo, Japan." When everyone heard that Orville gave Charlie a villa in Tokyo, they were all surprised, and they didn't understand why Orville wanted to send Charlie to his villa in Japan. But after a moment of surprise, Isaac and Liang suddenly realized in their hearts. At the same time, they all sighed in their hearts, why didn't they think of this? Back in Japan, they had been by Charlie's side, busy assembling the production line of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals. After everyone arrived in Osaka, Charlie suddenly wanted to go to Kyoto alone. At that moment, Orville guessed that Charlie must have been looking for Nanako. Orville is a very smart person, and he has served with Charlie for a long time, knowing more about some things about Charlie than others around him. He had long seen that Charlie seemed to have some appreciation for the Japanese female fighter named Nanako, and then the female fighter returned to Japan for treatment because of an injury during the match. Orville paid attention to Nanako's follow-up. She first received treatment in Tokyo, and then went to Kyoto to train, but Charlie suddenly went to Kyoto when he was in Osaka. He suddenly guessed the reason. What is even more bizarre is that Charlie drove to Kyoto that same day, and then drove from Kyoto to Tokyo at night. Combined with the Japanese news reports on a series of times at that time, Orville used these clues to structure the whole thing in his mind. And the guess is not bad. He knew that Nanako inherited the Ito family and began to work hard to become the heir of the Ito family. He also knew that the Ito family had a luxurious mansion near the imperial residence in Tokyo, so he simply bought it next to the Ito family mansion. Now, this mansion is given to Charlie. In his opinion, this should be what he liked. Charlie would definitely like it very much. Isaac and Liang also followed Charlie all the way to Japan, so they also knew the outline of the matter. Suddenly, they found that Orville had given Charlie a villa in Tokyo, and he immediately knew what Orville was thinking. While admiring him, the two were also annoyed that they did not expect this level. Charlie heard that Orville had given him a villa in Tokyo. His first thought was also surprised. As soon as he came up, he didn't want to understand why Orville gave him a villa in Tokyo, and it seemed to be very close to the Ito family's residence in Tokyo. Then, he immediately realized that Orville should have seen some clues, so he came specifically to meet his needs. At this moment, Charlie suddenly felt a little mixed. He really admires Nanako and knows her feelings for him, but he is married after all, so he really shouldn't get too close to her. Before in Japan, the reason why he wanted to see her was mainly to heal her injuries, but he didn't expect so many things to happen later. After curing Nanako and sending her to Tokyo safely, Charlie had already let go of it. But now Orville suddenly gave away a villa in Tokyo, and immediately deepened the image of Nanako in Charlie's mind. At this time, Elaine clapped her hands happily. "Oh, I have long wanted to go to Japan to see cherry blossoms, do shopping, etc. If I have my own villa in Tokyo, wouldn't I be able to go there often?" Orville said hurriedly, "Ms. Elaine, you can go there at any time. I also arranged for a few servants in Tokyo to be on standby around the clock to ensure that no matter what time you go there, it is in the best condition and there are people dedicated to you. Do their best to take care of you." "Oh, that's really great!" Elaine said excitedly. I wanted to travel abroad for a long time, but it's a pity that I have been unhappy in the early years, and there is no chance. Now my son-in-law has a good life, and I will have to go out often in the future." With that, she asked Mr. Song, "Oh, Mr. Song, can the yacht you gave go all the way to Japan?" Old Song hurriedly replied, "Ms. Elaine, that yacht has a maximum range of more than 2,000 nautical miles, which is nearly 4,000 kilometers, which is enough to travel all the way from Oris Hill to the estuary, and then to Tokyo, but because this involves entry and exit, so you have to report to the customs in advance." Elaine immediately said to Charlie excitedly, "Good son-in-law, let's take some time and sail the yacht to travel to Japan by ourselves. What do you think?" Charlie said vaguely, "Let's talk about this when I have time." Elaine hurriedly said, "Time is not easy to tell. Your dad and I don't go to work, and you don't go to work." She started running the company on her own. She is the boss herself. Wouldn't it be a matter of a sentence when you want to take a holiday? Claire hurriedly said, "Mom, what are you talking about? Entrepreneurship requires focus to be effective. How can I leave the company and go traveling by myself?" Elaine said, "It doesn't matter. You will stay and continue to work and let Charlie take us to Tokyo. It just so happens that we are not at home, so you can focus more on your company." Claire was speechless at once. Although she didn't want her family to go travel alone, but Elaine said this very skillfully. She first asked Claire to go with them, but she refused on the grounds of working hard to run the business. So she said let Claire stay and start his own business. Claire couldn't refute it, otherwise she would just slap herself in the face. So Claire had no choice but to say, "Hey, do whatever you like." Charlie smiled slightly, and said, "Don't talk about it for now, the Chinese New Year will be coming soon. Naturally, I will spend the holidays at home during this time. As for whether to go out to travel, I will wait until the end of the new year." Elaine nodded hurriedly, and said with a smile, "Okay, son-in-law, Mom listens to you." Charlie gave a hum, then looked at everyone, and said seriously, "I really thank you all for coming here today, and you gave me so many gifts, which cost everyone." Everyone hurriedly said, "Where and why, this is what we should do." Charlie looked at the people and smiled and said, "As the saying goes, courtesy is about to come and go, after the new year, I will definitely prepare a gift in return for everyone. At that time, I will have to trouble Mr. Qin Gang to help me prepare some materials." As soon as these words came out, all those who came to pay the New Year's greetings showed an unquenchable ecstasy. They knew that Charlie wanted to give back some pills. Otherwise, he would never say, "Let Qin Gang prepare the materials." What does Qin Gang do? He specializes in various Chinese herbal medicines. Charlie's first refining medicine was the material Qin Gang provided. Charlie now asked him to prepare the materials, not to make a pill. What else could it be? The reason why Charlie didn't say it clearly was because he didn't want to directly mention the medicine in front of his wife and father-in-law. He did not let his family know whether it was the previous basic medicine or the later rejuvenating medicine. However, these people present have all been blessed by him, and they will understand as long as the words are used. Charlie's rejuvenation pills are not much. Moreover, as the saying goes, rare things are expensive. Tele spent 2 billion on a rejuvenating pill, which proved that the rejuvenating pill is completely worth the price for the rich, so he did not intend to use the pill to return gifts to everyone. If this kind of thing is really bad, it will naturally not appear so scarce, and its value will naturally fall. Therefore, Charlie planned to ask Qin Gang to find some raw materials and refine a batch of the first pill that he had refined at the beginning, and then give one to each one who came to give gifts today. Everyone just came to pay a New Year greeting to Charlie and give some gifts for the New Year, but they didn't expect that Charlie would actually give them a pill in return, so everyone seemed very excited. Suddenly, no matter how much money was spent, it was 10,000. Worth it. Afterwards, everyone exchanged glances, and Orville said, "Master, with so many of us here, it will definitely affect your family's original plan. We will leave first." Charlie nodded and said, "After the New Year is over, I will choose a time to invite everyone to dinner, and I will take it with you in return." Everyone hurriedly clasped their fists and bowed, and said uniformly, "Master, thank you." The mighty convoy drove away. After Charlie's family watched them leave at the door, Elaine was the first to break the restraint and blurted out, "My God, it's really developed today. It's a villa again. It's a yacht and a helicopter again. It really sums up to a lot of money." Jacob was also excited, and muttered, "The pair of blue and white elephant ear bottles are really good treasures at the national treasure level. I have to go and see again." Elaine looked at Charlie at this time and said, "By the way, son-in-law, I think they still have a lot of gift boxes left. What are they? Why didn't they say?" Charlie shook his head, "Don't know what's in there. If you want to know, you might as well open it." Elaine said happily, "I just want to see what it is. Then I will go and open it one by one." Claire was a little nervous at this time, but also a little worried and said, "Charlie, why do they give you so many precious gifts? These things are worth hundreds of millions. Isn't this too much? How can we?" "What about you?" Charlie smiled and said, "I help them, and they give us gifts. It's all things you love and I want. What's wrong?" Claire said, "This value is too high after all. Can you show them feng shui? Can it be worth so much?" Charlie nodded, "As long as you believe in this thing, you are willing to spend as much money. There used to be a great quack master, so many big stars and rich people regarded him as a guest, and they also spent a lot of money for him. Isn't it because they believe that quack can change their destiny?" Claire hurriedly said, "But wasn't that quack master finally exposed? It was all a lie." Charlie smiled and said, "He was a liar, but I am not." As he said again, "I show these people feng shui, these people have got great benefits without exception, otherwise, why do you think they have always believed in me? Of course they believe it only after seeing the effect. Claire asked again, then you said you want to return a gift to them, what are you going to return? Charlie said, I will return to each of them a set of special talisman. Talisman? Claire asked in surprise, is it the kind of amulet that costs a few coins in the temple? Charlie nodded, it's almost the same, but the difference is that what the temple sells is consecrated by the monks, and what I do is consecrated by myself. Claire said with some worry, is it reliable for you to do all this? I always feel very worried, for fear that you will be taken away someday. Charlie comforted, my wife, don't worry, I'm a businessman, I always do business with integrity and fairness. I have been showing feng shui for a long time. Do you see anyone coming to trouble me? Claire was asked by Charlie at once. Charlie was right. For such a long time, he saw that feng shui had not made less money, and he also made a large villa of more than 1 billion, but none of those customers came to trouble him. Especially Solman. The villa was given by Solman, and he again just gave a priceless pink diamond, which proves that Charlie must have really helped him and he will be so loyal. At this time, Elaine persuaded, oh, Claire, you don't understand feng shui and other things, so don't argue Charlie. After that, she started to face and said very seriously, Mom doesn't expect you to help Charlie in his career, but Mom will never allow you to hold back his legs. Our family's future will be all dependent on Charlie. Mom Claire was choked by Elaine and was speechless. She could see that her mother had completely fallen to Charlie, and nothing she says could be of any use. So, she sighed helplessly, hey, I'm going to the company first. Elaine hurriedly said, Claire, why don't you wait for Mom to finish the present before leaving? Claire shook his head and said, I'm already very late, everyone is still waiting for me to hold a summary meeting. Elaine said, that's okay, then you go first. If there is something good, Mom will take a picture and send it to you. Claire gave a hum, and said to Charlie and Jacob, husband, Dad, I'm leaving now. Charlie nodded, drive slowly on the road and pay attention to safety. Claire hurriedly said, don't worry, I will pay attention. After Claire drove away, Charlie returned to the villa living room. At this time, Jacob and Elaine had already taken apart a pile of gift boxes by herself. Elaine opened a gift box and exclaimed in excitement. It turned out to be a limited edition Chanel bag. Jacob took out a bottle of mutai. After reading it carefully, he was stunned and said, my God, this is a 5-star mutai made in 58. There are very few in stock, and a bottle appeared at auctions a few years ago. It sold for 2.99 million. What? Elaine asked in horror, a bottle of mutai, 2.99 million. Are you crazy? Jacob curled his lips, look at you who have never seen the world. The 2.99 million mutai scared you like this? I tell you, there is also a kind of mutai that only has 10 bottles in the country, called handy mutai, which is worth thousands of million each. Handy mutai? Elaine frowned and asked, what do you mean? Mutai dug out from the dry land. Jacob said contemptuously, you even went to college because you were Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty, not a dry land of arid land. Elaine sipped, bah! Who do you look down on? It's obvious that you haven't said clearly, so do you know Emperor Wu of Han? Jacob immediately retorted, you definitely don't know who Emperor Wu of Han is. If you can tell the name of Emperor Wu of Han today, I will count you as a college student. Elaine was speechless immediately. She really can't remember who Emperor Wu of Han is. Seeing her anxious look, Jacob sneered, what? Can't remember? Was the university in vain? Elaine said angrily, why are you so sepacking much $1 hit? I tell you Jacob, the bottle of wine in your hand is worth 3 million, and you absolutely can't drink it. Save it and wait for it to appreciate later before selling it. Jacob annoyed and said, this is what someone gave to my son-in-law Charlie. It's up to you to tell me. My son-in-law says drink and drink, my son-in-law says sell it, and my son-in-law says just smash it, and you can only watch it. Leave. You seeing the two arguing again, Charlie shook his head helplessly. At this time, his mobile phone rang suddenly, and it was Sarah who called. So he said to the couple, Dad and Mom, I have something to do. I will go back to the room first. After finishing talking, he went straight into the elevator without waiting for their response. Charlie returned to his room and then connected to Sarah's video call and asked her, Hey, Sarah. Charlie. In the video, Sarah, wearing a nightgown at home, waved at him excitedly. In the video, Sarah has no makeup, and her long black hair is casually draped over her shoulders. Without the full aura of a top star, she is more like a beautiful girl next door. At this time, she happily asked, Charlie, what are you doing? Charlie smiled and said, I'm not busy. Isn't it the new year right away? Just prepare some New Year's goods at home. Sarah smiled happily, hee hee, me too. This year we will return to the old house in Y for the new year. With that, she switched the cameras and took a picture of the surrounding environment. As expected, she was in the courtyard of the Gu family. Charlie couldn't help asking, Sarah, your courtyard is so big, does it seem a little deserted for a family of 3 to celebrate the new year? No. Sarah said with a smile, this year I will spend the new year with my second and third uncles. There are 3 big families in total, which is quite lively. Charlie nodded, thinking of her second and third uncles, and couldn't help but ask, Sarah, your second and third uncles, how are you doing lately? Didn't you make any trouble with your family? Sarah hurriedly said, No, no. My second uncle and third uncle have a good attitude these days. I ran home every 3 days, and every time I went, I brought big and small bags of various gifts. Oh, by the way, this year I will go back to my old house for the new year. The 2 of them proposed to my dad. They said that the family hadn't been together for a long time for a lively new year. So they wanted to get together for a while. Dad agreed. Charlie knew that Sarah's second uncle Yanzhen and third uncle Yang Gong, as well as their sons, are still in a state of infertility. During this period of time, you can guess that they must be very honest. After all, they still hope to please Philip's family and get their forgiveness. Before, they had signed an agreement with Philip, and everything in the future will only be in the hands of Philip, so now they can't make any more storms. So Charlie said with satisfaction, that's good, if your 2 uncles are still unruly, you must tell me the first time. Sarah nodded quickly and said, Charlie, wait a moment, I'll go to my parents' room, they have something to tell you too. Charlie hurriedly asked, you wear more clothes, this dress looks like you wear it in summer, don't freeze. Sarah said with a sweet smile, I won't freeze, because the entire courtyard is covered with floor heating, and the heat is sufficient. The room has always been around 28 degrees. Charlie was relieved now. In his mind, Sarah is not so much a fiancée who has a marriage contract and a parental matchmaker's agreement, but a little sister who has been by his side since childhood. Therefore, Charlie also cared very much about her. In the video, Sarah trot all the way, through the huge hall, to the room of Philip and Lennon. Philip was drinking tea and reading at his desk at this time. Lennon burned a small furnace of sandalwood and brought the incense burner to Philip's desk. Seeing Sarah rushing in at this time, he hurriedly said, Sarah, you be careful, don't fall. Sarah said excitedly, Mom, I'm videoing with Charlie. When Philip heard the word Charlie, he immediately put down the book in his hand, and asked excitedly, are you videoing with Charlie? Hurry up, let me talk to him. Sarah quickly placed the phone on the desk, with the camera and screen facing Philip. Philip's complexion was very good at this time, and his whole state was very young. Seeing Charlie in the video, he immediately smiled and said, Charlie, how are you in Oris Hill recently? Charlie smiled and said, looking back at Uncle, everything is fine, how are you and Aunt Lennon? Okay. We are fine. Philip nodded repeatedly. At this time, Lennon stood beside him, looked at Charlie on the screen, and said with a smile, Charlie, when will you come to East Cliff for a few days? Uncle has been thinking of you especially recently. Basically, I have to listen about you several times a day, and my ears are about to grow cocoons. Charlie smiled and said, Uncle and Auntie, when I finish my work, I will make time to visit East Cliff to see you too. Standing on the other side of Philip, Sarah murmured dissatisfiedly, what do you mean by seeing them, then what should I do? You don't have to see me? Charlie hurriedly smiled and said, of course I have to meet you as well. I made a mistake. I have time to see you, Uncle and Auntie. Are you satisfied now? Sarah hummed triumphantly, this is pretty much better. At this time, Philip said, by the way, Charlie, I heard that Cynthia came to Oris Hill? Yes. Charlie smiled slightly, Uncle, have you heard about it? Philip smiled and said, your grandpa called me this morning and told me about you and Cynthia. Charlie asked in surprise, he knows that I have met you? Philip shook his head, he didn't know yet, so he thought I hadn't received your message yet, so he told me about you. Charlie asked puzzledly, why does he want to tell you these things? Philip smiled and said, I see what he meant, mainly because he wanted to tell me your news, and then asked me if I was still willing to fulfill the promise I made with your dad and let you get married with my daughter. Charlie couldn't help but feel embarrassed. It seemed that Grandpa meant that he still wanted to get himself back to the Wade family, and then let himself go to marry Sarah. At this time, Philip also saw Charlie's embarrassment and hurriedly said, Charlie, don't put any pressure on this matter. I just told your grandfather that I am willing to fulfill my promise, but I also said that in this matter the opinion of children must be respected. After speaking, Philip said again, "Charlie, you still come at your own pace. Since I said, our family waited for you for many years and we must wait for you for more." Charlie nodded lightly and said, "Uncle, thank you for your understanding." Philip waved his hand and said, "Uncle's life is yours. You don't have to be so polite with me." Immediately, Philip said again, "Oh, yes, your grandfather asked me to persuade you, after all, you and Miss Cynthia are all in the same family. Don't be so angry, let alone hurt your peace." Charlie said, "Uncle, my aunt is too domineering, and my grandfather doesn't give her the necessary restraint. When she arrived in Oris Hill, she drank and arrogated me, and went to mother-in-law to gossip. She is really too arrogant." Philip nodded and said, "Miss Cynthia is in Eastcliff. That is notoriously difficult to deal with. I didn't expect that going to Oris Hill would let you get cured." Charlie said indifferently, "If she is not too much, I don't want to be familiar with her." Philip smiled slightly and said, "Your grandfather still wants me to persuade you. If you have time, go back to Wade's house. This year's spring festival is over. After the Lantern Festival, it's almost March. He hopes you will save energy. Come back, join him in the ancestor worship ceremony held by the Wade family in Waderest Mountain." Charlie asked in surprise, "Holding an ancestor worship ceremony?" "Yes." Philip said, "Your Wade family originally held an ancestor worship ceremony once in 12 years. It happened to be this year, and Waderest Mountain was developed for more than 3 years. The construction was just completed last spring. Wade family moved to the ancestral tomb in the fall. So this year's Qingming Festival is also the first Qingming Festival when Waderest's tomb was moved to Waderest Mountain. So your grandfather wants to hold a grand ceremony for ancestor worship. At that time, not only your Wade, but also dozens of Wade branches across the country will also go to participate. You are the grandson of the Wade family, and he hopes you can be there, and formally pay homage to your parents by the way. The Wade family's ancestor worship is the most grand family ceremony in the entire Wade family. Large families value ancestor worship, especially large families with a long history like the Wade family, which have a profound history and many branches, and they attach great importance to ancestor worship ceremony. In fact, many wealthy families really want to engage in special ancestor worship ceremonies, but the real ancestor worship ceremonies are definitely not something ordinary families can do. Some nouveau riche families want to hold an ancestor worship ceremony but can't hold up this stage. Because these people's ancestors may have buried the ancestors of the last 3 or 4 generations in total, and when it comes to their identities, they may all be farmers in the previous generations. There is no tall story to tell for future generations. Although the peasant class is also very worthy of respect, but in these upper-class societies, the ancestors did not have a strong enough identity background, and it is indeed somewhat ineffective. Especially in the upper class of Eastcliff. In addition to comparing money and power, it is the family origin and heritage. In Eastcliff, there were many elders and children who were in power during the Manchu and Qing dynasties. When the ancestors of these families were in the Qing dynasty, they were all nobles. It was not which elder brother, which Gaig, and even the first-rate elders in the dynasty was a member. Such a family has a strong foundation. When the ancestor worship ceremony, if you take out 2 or 3 ancestors' deeds and read it out, you can immediately give people a feeling of bullying. The ancestors of the Wade family were also imperial officials. The ordinary family and the ancestors of the ancestors could not wait to build an ancestral hall for this ancestor in his hometown. However, the Wade family, the ancestors of the ancestors, were awarded hundreds of scholars and 10 of the champions. The top 3, including the champion, made a total of 31. With a history of nearly 300 years in the Qing dynasty, there were 112 examinations in the imperial ways. In these nearly 300 years, a total of more than 20,000 scholars and 114 champions were awarded. The Great Wade family accounted for nearly 1/10, which was an extremely remarkable achievement. It is precisely because of the talents of the ancestors that the Wade family can continue to exist for hundreds of years, and it has always been quite strong. Even in the era of war, it was at least a formidable one. The Wade family has opened branches and leaves for so many years. There are at least tens of thousands of Wade family descendants all over the world, and a considerable number of them have gone overseas. Their ancestors, going back hundreds of years, are the ancestors of the Wade family. It's just that in ancient times, the eldest son inherited the mantle, and the other sons and daughters had to separate their families. Therefore, more and more Wade family members were reduced to collateral families, leaving only the descendant line as the real suzerain family. It's like Charlie's father has 3 brothers. According to the ancient rules, after Charlie's father's death, the 3 sons of the Wade family will be separated. By then, the eldest son, Andrew, will inherit most of the family business and residence. The second and third sons should leave the original Wade family mansion with their family members after 3 years of filial piety for their father, and start another family by themselves. In this way, the second son and third son's 2 families became Wade family's collateral family. At this time, the 2 collateral families were still relatively close to the suzerain family. After all, the second, third, and eldest brothers were still the brothers of the main one. But by the time of Charlie's generation, it was Charlie's cousin who inherited the mantle of the suzerain family, so the relationship between the 2 collateral families and the suzerain family is separated by another generation. By the time of the 3rd and 4th generations, these 2 collateral families have also derived several more detailed collateral families, so they are farther away from the suzerain family. If it lasts for 5 or 6 generations, the span may have been more than 100 years. At that time, they probably don't know each other at all, and they could only find the names of descendants of other collateral families on the genealogy. Therefore, as the suzerain family, it is necessary to use the ceremony of worshipping the ancestors to gather people from the collateral family at regular intervals. After you get to know and get acquainted with each other, and after worshipping the common ancestor together, the connection between bloodlines will be strengthened. This is also a necessary way for large families to maintain their strength. Therefore, the Wade family not only holds an ancestor worship ceremony every 12 years, but also revises the entire Wade family's genealogy at the ancestor worship ceremony. Between these 12-year and the last 12 years, each family will have a new heir born, an older generation will die, and young adults will marry. Therefore, every 12 years, countless branches of the Wade family report the population changes of their family over the past 12 years to the suzerain family. At that time, the suzerain family will select a respected old master to personally renew the genealogy, and write down the names and deeds of these people one by one. The existing Wade family tree records the names of millions of Wade family descendants, as well as the names of millions of their spouses, such as Wade family's son XX, whose daughter XX was married, or the Wade family daughter married to whose son so and so on. Each revision of the genealogy is also very grand. The female parent of the genealogy is stored in a safe with constant temperature and humidity, and is invited out by the descendants of the Wade family every time the ancestor worships. They come out, and after the worship, they must immediately and respectfully invite the mother back. Later, renew the new genealogy. After the renewal of the new genealogy is completed, grandly invite the new genealogy back, and keep it together with the countless parents. All the Wade family members regard the genealogy as a family sacred object, sacred and inviolable. The suzerain family is the only family that has the right to retain the genealogy. Therefore, every time a collateral family comes to worship the ancestors, in addition to 3 bows and 9 worships to the genealogy, it will also have a natural sense of belonging to the suzerain family. This is like the ancient emperor and ministers, through cumbersome etiquette, rituals, and strict rules and inheritance, to strengthen the director's mind. The idea of loyalty to the emperor is essential. This is also a great support for the suzerain family to let the collateral family bow their heads. However, Charlie has no impression of Wade family's ancestor worship ceremony. The last ancestor worship ceremony was 12 years ago, when he was still in Orris Hill Welfare Institute. The last ancestor worship ceremony was 24 years ago. At that time, he was too young, so young that he has no memory of this incident. However, although he can no longer find the memory of the ancestor worship ceremony 24 years ago, he is still very clear about the Wade family's ancestor worship ceremony. The grandest worship ceremony for parents. Therefore, he couldn't help but look forward to it. He wasn't expecting to pay homage to the ancestors of the Wade family. He just expected to pay respect to his parents in a respectable, upright, grand, and pompous manner. The last time he followed Philip to worship his parents, he had to pretend to be Philip's driver, and he failed to walk to his parents' grave with his true identity and kowtow. This has always been a regret in his mind. So he said to Philip, "Uncle, please tell my grandfather that I will come to the ancestor worship ceremony at Qingming Festival." Philip originally thought that Charlie would not agree, but he did not expect that he promised so readily, so he immediately said, "If your grandfather knows that you are willing to come back to the ancestor worship ceremony, he will be very happy." Charlie smiled, thinking in his heart, "Whether he will be happy or not should not depend on whether I will attend the ancestor worship ceremony, but on whether I will follow his arrangements and become the Wade family's tool." However, he did not tell Philip these words. At this time, Sarah spoke again, "By the way, Charlie, my concert time in Orris Hill has already been set." Charlie was very surprised and asked, "The concert? In Orris Hill?" Sarah nodded and smiled and said, "Originally, the next stop of my tour is Orris Hill, but the specific time has not yet been determined." Charlie just remembered that when he was taking his wife to dinner with Sarah, his wife once told him excitedly that Sarah was going to hold a concert in Orris Hill soon, but he didn't expect this matter to be on the agenda now. So he asked her, "Sarah, when is your concert?" Sarah said, it's on February 2nd of the lunar calendar, at 7 p.m. on your birthday, at the Olympic Stadium in Oris Hill. Charlie was suddenly surprised. The second month of the lunar calendar? Is it my birthday? Is this girl deliberately choosing to hold the concert on that day? At this time, Sarah said with a look of anticipation, "Charlie, I have reserved the best ticket for you. You must come and join me when that happens." Charlie nodded, "Don't worry, I will definitely come there." Sarah said happily, "Then let's meet in Oris Hill then." Okay. At this time, Philip suddenly heard a knock on the door during the video call. Philip said, "Come in." Afterwards, Yan Zhen, the second child of the Gu family, pushed the door and said respectfully, "Brother, sister-in-law, the Sui family came to give gifts." Philip frowned and asked in amazement, "The Sui family? I have never been with them. Why did they suddenly come to me and give me gifts?" Yan Zhen shook his head, and said with some puzzlement, "I didn't understand this either. This time, it is a pair of children from Mr. Xin, Zhaifei and Xiu. Xin himself did not come. It is estimated that he is also self-aware, knowing that I have been very dissatisfied with him because of what happened to Big Brother Wade." Philip was even more puzzled, and said, "Xin hasn't come, what are the juniors of the Sui family doing? I haven't heard of the juniors of the Sui family coming out to visit during the New Year. The Sui family has always been very high in East Cliff. Neither Cheng Feng nor his sons would ever visit others during the Chinese New Year. At most, they would visit their father-in-law and mother-in-law. Even the younger generations of the Sui family and Xiu's generation never lowered their stature and took the initiative to visit other families. Therefore, Philip couldn't understand why Xin's son and daughter came to visit him. Charlie was also a little surprised. Last time in Japan, he saved Zhaifei and Xiu easily. He thought he saved two compatriots easily, but he didn't expect them to be the enemy's children. This incident once made him very depressed. Unexpectedly, the two people now ran to Philip's home again. Could it be that the Sui family even wants to win over the Gu family? However, Charlie didn't say much in the video. After all, Philip didn't know his experience in Japan. At this time, Yan Zhen, the second child of the Gu family, said, "Brother, why the younger generation of the Sui family came to give gifts? I am not sure about this, but I think it may be related to the experience of the Sui family in Japan some time ago. During this period, the Sui family has indeed suffered heavy losses. Maybe now they have the idea to win over some families." Philip said with a cold face, "In the whole of East Cliff, the person I don't look down on the most is that Xin. The complete fraudulent. The anti-Wade alliance back then he was among the leading, and the secret arrow hurt people." Lenin on the side said, "I can't look down on it, but I don't want to look down on it, but as the saying goes, you don't hit a smiley person. What's more, it is Xin's two children who are here this time. Don't pass the old grievances to the younger generation. Otherwise if it is spread out, wouldn't it make people laugh?" Philip thought for a moment, then nodded and said, "Well, let's see what medicine they sell in the gourd." After that, he said to Charlie, "Charlie, someone from the Sui family is here to give gifts, I will accept it." Charlie nodded, and said, "Okay uncle, go ahead, wish you a happy new year in advance." Philip smiled and nodded, happy. Happy. During the Chinese New Year in recent years, I have never been so happy as today. As he said, he couldn't help sighing again. Hey, it would be great if you could spend the New Year in East Cliff. If the family of 4 can spend a year together, it will be better than anything else. Once the door is closed, you can enjoy the family reunion. Even if the Heavenly King comes to the door, I will not see him. Charlie knew that Philip and his wife wanted to make him their son-in-law, and even his parents were in the spirit of heaven. It's just that he has never thought of divorcing Claire, so at this moment, he doesn't know how to respond to Philip's words. At this time, Lennon came out to round the scene and said, "It's okay, Charlie must have a good idea, maybe your wish will come true in a few years, so why bother to rush now?" Philip nodded, "Don't be in a hurry, don't be afraid of being late for a good meal, I've been waiting for so many years, don't care if I wait another 3 years." After that, he said to Charlie, "Charlie, uncle, I won't tell you more for now, and talk to you another day. Uncle here also wishes you a happy new year." Charlie hurriedly said, "Thank you, uncle." Sarah said at this time, "Dad and Mom, you go, I will chat with Charlie for a while." Philip said, "You should come along. I have nothing to talk about with the younger generation of the Sua family, don't you know each other? You can say a few words to them for me, and then find a reason to see them off." Sarah said helplessly, "Well then." After speaking, Sarah said to Charlie again, "Charlie, then I will hang up first." Charlie nodded and smiled, "Okay, go ahead." At this moment, the main hall of the Gu family courtyard. Zhao Fei, a talented person, sat on the red sandalwood sofa with the slim Xiao. After the Gu's servants offered tea, they retired. There are only 2 of them in the main hall for the time being. Xiao saw that Zhao Fei was a little nervous, and whispered in his ear, "Brother, when you see your dream lover later, don't be too nervous." Zhao Fei was a little nervous at first, but when he heard his sister say this, his heart became even more nervous. Sarah belongs to the top rich 2nd generation of East Cliff. Although the relationship is not very close, they can be regarded as ordinary friends. Zhao Fei has been secretly in love with Sarah for many years, but because Sarah never mixes with the 2nd generation wealthy circle, he does not have much chance to contact Sarah. Moreover, Zhao Fei didn't dare to confess to her, because he knew that in the eyes of his father's Gu's family was a little uncomfortable. Zhao Fei is the eldest son of the Sua family in his generation, and there is no doubt that he will be the head of the Sua family at some time in the future. Therefore, Xin attaches great importance to his marriage. In Xin's view, the Sua family is now the number 1 family in the country, and the second-ranked family, the Wade family, is against them, so Zhao Fei has no need to find a suitable marriage partner in China. Xin's plan for Zhao Fei was to either marry the person above him, or simply find a top family from abroad to marry. Therefore, he naturally cannot be willing to let his son be with Sarah of the Gu family. Zhao Fei never thought of confessing to Sarah before. As the eldest son of the Sua family, although he is not as capable as Xiao, his consciousness is higher than Xiao. He knew that in his marriage he could not be the master of his own, so he simply gave up the right of his own choice and let his family arrange it for him. However, after being kidnapped by a ninja and almost killed last time in Japan, he suddenly felt that his life was short. He feels that even if life is a good one, it is only a few decades, and maybe at a certain period of time because of an accident and died young. That being the case, why do you need to compromise your marriage? Since he has always liked Sarah, why not have the courage to pursue her? After he had said this plan to Zhao, Zhao immediately raised her hands in agreement, and deliberately helped him figure out a way to approach Sarah. Zhao knew that Sarah would have a series of national tour concerts after the new year, so she suggested to her brother to talk to Sarah about the naming rights of the concert. It happened that Zhao Fei had a well-known cosmetics company in the country under his own name. Zhao suggested using this cosmetics brand to discuss naming cooperation with Sarah. Zhao's original intention was to let Zhao Fei establish a business relationship with Sarah, so that he could go to her concert to cheer for her as the title dealer. By doing two things like this, starting with public and then private, saving the country with curves, basically, the relationship between the two can be quickly brought closer. If the elder brother has enough ability and charisma, it will be a matter of course. At this time, Zhao Fei felt a little nervous, and he asked Zhao in a low voice, "Do you think Sarah can agree to let me endorse her concert?" Zhao said seriously, "If you do what I said, I don't think the problem is big." Zhao Fei nodded softly, but still a little unsure, and said in a low voice, "I heard that Sarah seems to have a marriage contract with a younger member of the Wade family. If I really confess to her, can she agree?" Zhao comforted helplessly, "Oh, brother! Why are you chirping like a lady? Don't think about it so much, you don't want to turn your bow back. Moreover, even if she has a marriage contract, what about it? It was Changjing's son who had a marriage contract with her. When the Changjing couple was killed in the early years, he had already disappeared. Whether he is still alive is still unknown. How could it be possible for him to come back and marry Sarah?" Speaking of this, Zhao said again, "You, just play well and perform well. You are the eldest son of the Sui family. In terms of financial resources, few people in the country can compare with you. In terms of looks, you look like a talent. And with high education, I think you are more than enough to match Sarah." Zhao Fei said with emotion, "In fact, there is one more thing, don't know if you are not clear." Zhao asked, "What's the matter?" Zhao Fei said, "Dad and Changjing were always at odds. In order to fight against Changjing's unstoppable energy, Dad also formed an anti-Wade alliance that year. The hatred with Changjing can be said to be very deep. Sarah's father was also a good brother of Changjing, so I am worried that Sarah's father will have prejudice against the Sui family." Zhao frowned and said, "I know that Dad and Changjing didn't deal with him. I heard my uncle talk about it, but Changjing and Philip were like brothers, I have never heard of." As he said, Zhao comforted, "But things have passed for so many years, I think he shouldn't hold such a grudge. Besides, even if he has prejudices, he also has prejudices against Dad, and won't be the same as those of our juniors. Besides, Sarah is his only daughter. If Sarah really likes you, I believe he will respect his daughter's choice. What do you think?" Zhao Fei's nervousness eased a bit after hearing her say this, and he nodded and said, "What you said makes sense. I will try it." Zhao smiled and said, "You, be more confident. The world doesn't know how many women are lining up to marry you. Some of them have better overall conditions than Sarah. Why do you feel inferior? Zhao Fei chuckled, I said so, but I still feel nervous. Zhao earnestly said, this is the problem of your mentality, and lack of self-confidence is the key. If I like a man in the future, I will never feel inferior at all. Even if he is the prince of the Middle East, I will not be inferior in front of him. As she spoke, Zhao laughed and said, the prince is actually nothing great, let alone that I don't like the foreign person. Even if I really put a prince in front of me, I still look at him with my heels. A prince seems to be very powerful. The family assets are hundreds of billions, but in their kind of family, the princes from all quarters add up to say a few hundred. On average, a prince has more than 1 billion in assets, which is not enough. Ma'am's own pocket money. Zhao Fei looked at Zhao, chuckled lightly, and said seriously, hey, sometimes I really wish I could have your personality, and I don't care about anything, so I will naturally live very generously. Zhao asked him back, are you complimenting me or hurting me? Praise you. Zhao Fei said earnestly, because I am the eldest son and grandson, I have been restrained by grandfather and dad since I was a child. The edges and corners of my personality have long been in front of them. It's smoothed out, and there is no sense of resistance at all. Unlike you, no matter who you can fight twice. Zhao said, we are in different situations after all. It is you, not me, who will inherit the family in the future, so I can live a little heartless. Zhao Fei nodded and asked her, by the way, aren't you looking for blessed man? How about it? Zhao sighed, I just got the surveillance video of several major airports in Japan, and looking at them one by one. It is estimated that I will find him by my 30th birthday. I am still thinking of a reliable solution. After that, Zhao hurriedly said, by the way, I will start watching the surveillance videos at home today. After you go back, you must help me sort it out. Hearing what sister said, Zhao Fei did not hesitate to pat his chest and agreed, don't worry, I will do my best to cooperate with you after I go back. Zhao nodded in satisfaction, just about to speak. 2 men and 2 women walked in at the entrance of the main hall. It was Philip's family of 3 and the second child Yanzhen. When Sarah came in, Zhao Fei became a little nervous, and his palms immediately began to sweat. Zhao on the side saw him, hurriedly poked him with her finger, gave him a reminding look, and immediately stood up, smiled and said to the 4 people who came, Uncle, Auntie, also there is Sarah, hello, sorry to bother you, I wish you a happy new year in advance. After speaking, she quickly took out a long gift box and handed it to Lenin's hand, saying, Auntie, this is a New Year gift for you and Uncle. Seeing that it was Zhao who spoke first, Lenin took the initiative and smiled, oh, it's Zhao, right? I haven't seen you for several years, and your looks are more and more beautiful. Zhao smiled generously and said, Auntie, you're overwhelmed. If you want to say pretty, Sister Sarah is much more beautiful than me. Lenin said, you child are too polite, why did you bring gifts when you came home? Zhao said, Auntie, who should be, is not a precious gift. It is a painting by the painter Zhang Daqian. Lenin said earnestly, Zhao, this is too expensive, I can't take it. Zhao hurriedly said, "Auntie, don't be so polite. To be honest, a painting doesn't cost much, it's just a matter of the heart." After that, she hurriedly changed the subject and introduced Zhai Fei, who was a little dull around her. "By the way, Auntie and Uncle, this is my brother, Zhai Fei. Sister Sarah and brother should know each other?" Sarah nodded and said lightly, "Yes, I have met Mr. Su several times." Philip saw that Zhai Fei looked 7 to 8 points similar to Xin, and suddenly felt a little unhappy in his heart. He looked at Zhai Fei and Xiu, with a smile on his face and said, "To be honest, the Gu family has never visited the Su family in the past 10 years. Don't know how your brother and sister condescended to come to my house?" Xiu hurriedly said, "Uncle is like this. Brother has a cosmetics company. This year he wants to focus on enhancing brand awareness. He happens to be a fan of Sarah. Knowing that Sarah is about to hold a concert tour, I thought let's bring together the two parties to make cooperation and let brother sponsor Sarah's concert." Philip was a little surprised. He originally thought that Xiu and Zhai Fei were coming over, and it was likely that they would represent the Su family and come to talk about some kind of family-level cooperation. However, what he didn't expect was that the brothers and sisters came only to talk to his daughter about a small concert. However, he was a little relieved, since it was about cooperation with his daughter, then he didn't need to be involved in it. So he said indifferently, "You can talk to Sarah directly about this. Normally, I will not interfere with her affairs." Xiu nodded, then looked at Sarah and asked her, "Sister Sarah, don't know how you feel about it?" Sarah is actually not very interested. She is not in the entertainment industry to make money, so she is fundamentally different from those female stars who see money and accommodate their attitude accordingly. Other female celebrities, no matter what they do, they may only look at money. It depends on the amount of money to participate in variety shows and publicity activities, and how much money is paid for what songs to sing and which movies and TV series to participate in. Some even sell their bodies for money. But Sarah is an exception. Money really has no practical meaning to her. What's more, after she reunited with Charlie, she had already made plans to quit the entertainment circle. She wanted to quit the entertainment circle first, and then after Charlie had dealt with his current marital problems, she would marry him, and then concentrate on helping her husband and raising children at home. Even, she had already thought that when the concert tour reached the final stage, she will announce her withdrawal at the concert site and stay away from all music, film, and television and TV programs. Therefore, the kind of cooperation mentioned by Xiu is even more uninterested in her. So she bluntly said, "I'm sorry, Xiu, I have no plans to find a title sponsor for this concert tour, and the relevant materials for the concert promotion have already been made, and some online platforms have already started its promotion. At this time, it's too late to sign the agreement, and it's too late to modify the promotional materials that have already been prepared." Xiu hurriedly said, "Why? Sister Sarah, as long as you can nod your head, we will have no problem even getting on the bus halfway." With that, she quickly winked at Zhai Fei. Zhai Fei on the side hurriedly said, "The thing is, Miss Sarah, I want to combine this sponsorship with your concert, and then do a large-scale public welfare promotion. As long as you nod, I can help. Each the concert will provide a sponsorship fee of 10 million. By that time, all the million will be donated to charity in the name of Miss Sarah. The purpose of this money will be dedicated to improving the living environment and quality of education for orphans. What do you think? When Sarah heard this, she suddenly hesitated. Originally, she had made up her mind to refuse directly, but she did not expect that Zhao Fei would actually cooperate with her in a charitable way. Moreover, it is a charity action specifically aimed at orphans. At this moment, it touched the softest part of her heart. At first, after reuniting with Charlie and learning that Charlie had lived in the orphanage for 10 years, Sarah always felt distressed for Charlie's hard childhood and teenage years. If a person has grown up and entered society, it is not a big deal to endure some hardship. After all, that kind of life is also a kind of discipline. However, if childhood suffers too much, it is probably an experience that is difficult for anyone to let go of. After all, childhood is a period of innocence and sunshine, and it is too important for anyone. If you have a good childhood, even when you think about it in your 70s or 80s, it can still make people feel happy. If you have a bad childhood, you will be shrouded in a powerful shadow for the rest of your life. Because she loves Charlie, Sarah also loves other orphans who have similar experiences with Charlie. At this moment, she was somewhat ashamed in her heart, and she couldn't help but think to herself, "I'm so stupid. Actually, I should have thought of doing something for other orphans, why should I wait for others to remind?" Thinking of this, she said, "Let's do this, Mr. Su, since it's charity, using your money in my name, I really don't dare to take it, it's better for me and your cosmetics company to do this together." Well, for every concert, your cosmetics company donated 10 million, and I personally donated 10 million. Hearing Sarah's promise, Zhao Fei was immediately overjoyed. Immediately, he looked at his sister Xiao, his face was full of admiration. At this moment, Zhao Fei really admires the 5 bodies that his sister Xiao admires. He knew that although his sister was a few years younger than him, her brain was much easier to use than his. In the name of charity, to persuade Sarah to accept the naming cooperation is also a solution that Xiao figured out a long time ago. Xiao has analyzed Sarah, she is not short of money, second love, and third suitors. It is not easy for ordinary men to impress her. Don't talk about pursuing her, even if you want to cooperate with her, it is difficult to reach the sky. Therefore, Xiao felt that if he wanted to impress Sarah, he has to find another way. She thought that Sarah once had a fiancé arranged by her parents and that the fiancé's life and death are uncertain. She felt that he could impress Sarah by doing charity for orphans. After all, a child who has been missing for many years has 2 possibilities. Either he has not been alive long ago, or he has been growing up as an orphan. Therefore, she felt that Sarah would definitely not refuse as long as her brother arranged the charity for orphans. As predicted, Sarah was in his arms completely. So, Zhao Fei was very excited and said, "Miss Sarah, in this case, let's wait for the contract to be signed in the next year, and then I will arrange for payment directly." Sarah nodded and said, "Since each donation is 10 million, then you don't need to pay my agency. Before each concert starts, we will each donate 10 million to local charities." "That's all right, don't know what Mr. Su wants?" Of course, Zhao Fei didn't have the slightest opinion, and said without hesitation, No problem. Absolutely no problem. Just follow the way Miss Sarah said. Sarah is actually a little selfish. Her first concert tour a year later is in Orris Hill, and Orris Hill is where Charlie has lived for so many years, so deep in her heart, she hopes to donate a sum of money to Orris Hill's charity first. At that time, the money can even be used to improve and expand the welfare home where Charlie grew up. After all, there are more than 1 billion people in the country. If you donate the money directly to the Charity Federation, you may not be able to give it to Orris Hill. Instead of this, it is better to donate 20 million directly. Zhao Hao didn't know Sarah's plan. He had been paying close attention to Sarah, so he knew that Sarah's first concert after the year was selected in Orris Hill. However, because of his sister's previous reminder, he pretended to be curious and asked, "By the way, Miss Sarah, don't know where your first concert this year is?" Sarah immediately said, "The first concert is in Orris Hill, on the second day of the second month of the lunar calendar." Zhao Hao nodded and said with a smile, "Orris Hill is not far away, and we can fly there in 2 hours. Since we have also reached a cooperation, then I will go to Orris Hill to cheer for Miss Sarah. By the way, I will personally promise to donate to the Orris Hill Charity Foundation." Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.